All right, shout out to the one quarterback gang out there.
Come on, baby.
You guys know the deal. This is our first one quarterback rookie mock draft since the NFL draft. We've been showing a lot of love to Superflex, and now it's time to show you guys a little bit of love here. Go ahead and comment down below, one quarterback gang. Let us know that you're here. Drop a like to show some love. Let's try and get 200 likes on this video. I know with the one quarterback gang's help, we can get there.
No doubt about it.
We're going to be going back and forth. Now we have the landing spots. There's no more hypotheticals. We know exactly where these players are, and we will discuss when we believe these players should be going off the board in a one quarterback format. If you want to have access to our one quarterback rankings, by the way, as well as advice on how to do your drafts, or what, if you're in between two players, you want to DM us, you want advice, if you want your roster broken down, all that and more, go ahead and use our code LAND, LAND, when signing up at flockfantasy.com/land. That's going to get you 30% off. And if you choose that mother flocker tier,
Come on.
then you are going to get that team breakdown. So, Badake, why don't we go ahead and start here? I'll take the 101. And don't need to overthink it. This was our 101 before. The NFL draft. It was Bijan Robinson. Didn't really matter where he went, but he ended up going top 10 to the Atlanta Falcons. RIP Tyler Algier owners. GG's. No need to overthink it.
Yeah, no need to overthink it. All right, at the 102, we'll stick with the running back position. We're going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. Now that Swift is out, I feel really comfortable with his ceiling, his expectation in this offense, and that's exactly why the Lions drafted him so high with the 12th pick. So I'm happy to take Jahmyr Gibbs right here.
All right, Jahmyr Gibbs is the pick. I think that makes sense. I'm not someone who's of the mindset that it has to be Jahmyr Gibbs, but I do think he's more than worthy of going ahead of JSN. It really depends. If you're trying to compete right now and your wide receiver room is strong, Gibbs is a great pick. If you're trying to compete right now and the opposite side is true and your running back room is strong, but you have no young wide receivers to build, then I think JSN is also a fantastic pick. So I'll take Jackson Smith-Njigba here at the 1-3. I have already drafted him in a couple leagues and excited about having him on the squad. He goes to Seattle. I'm not too worried about it, to be honest, long term. I think people every year we see them over exaggerate on landing spots, right? Last year, Garrett Wilson, a lot of people's wide receiver one goes to the Jets. Oh no, what's going to happen? You bet on the talent. You bet on the elite talent. Sometimes when the landing spots come, people just throw their evaluations completely out the window. I know I just watched film and looked up analytics for this player for 6 months, but I'm going to throw it out the window. No, JSN's the elite wide receiver in this class, in my opinion. I'll take him at the 1-3.
That's right. I'll take my elite wide receiver, my wide receiver one. I know a lot of people still disagree, and it's okay. Quentin Johnson going with Justin Herbert. Some would argue, one of the best landing spots with I guess, a long-term quarterback, right? So I'll take Quaxon. English is hard today. Quentin Johnston at the 104.
Yeah, English is a little bit more difficult today. We're still coming off the high of the NFL draft, and we didn't stop pumping out content that entire week. So, okay, here at the 1-5, I still feel very good about being at the 1-5 and a one quarterback. Love Jordan Addison, and that's who I'll take here. I think this is the perfect landing spot for Jordan Addison. Now, some people might have had Addison as their one heading into the draft. He was kind of tied around that 3-4 range for me with Flowers. And, we said this over and over. The ideal situation for Jordan Addison is that he lands in a position where he can be an elite wide receiver too, an elite complementary player. Now, Devonta Smith is the easy comp, but I think they're different players. But as far as the role, I think that's the perfect role for Jordan Addison here, complementing Justin Jefferson. And, both of those players are going to be able to get open when they're both on the field. I like it for him. If anyone out there is telling you, oh, Jordan Addison can't be the wide receiver one on his own team, he was never going to be the wide receiver one on most teams. He is not good versus press, and he has some question marks versus man. This is the perfect landing spot for Jordan Addison.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Addison at the 105, and I think the guy I'm going to be taking next is getting a lot of heat right now because of the landing spot. I think a lot of people, I would say, are overreacting. It's good to react, but I think overreaction is the wrong reaction. I think that's what Zach always says, and I think it's getting to a point where it's too much, right? I think Zay Flowers still lands in a good spot with the Baltimore Ravens. He has Lamar Jackson getting that contract extension. It may not be this year where he is this massive fantasy PPR target, but I think that will come in the future. And I think he is still valued here at the 106, or still of value here at the 106. So don't be hesitant to take Zay Flowers if you are here, in my opinion. I think he's going into a really good offense. Is it a pass-heavy offense? No, but he's coming in with a new offensive coordinator. Is OBJ going to stay there for a long time? Is Rashad Bateman going to get a contract extension? I honestly highly doubt it. So he's coming in, playing that slot receiver role. I know Mark Andrews is there, but I think they will carve out a role for him. How much? Not sure, but I think Zay in the future will be fine.
Yeah, we made a video about it. We've talked about it. We've reacted to it. I do fully believe that Zay Flowers' landing spot is the worst, and I've gone into detail about it. But I agree that he is being disrespected.
Yeah.
You and I had a draft yesterday and went at the 201. It wasn't, one quarterback, but still, even in Superflex, he should be off at the 109. So, the disrespect is too much. For me, I think there's a tier gap after the 1-3, and I think there's a tier gap after the 1-6. That's how I personally view it.
Okay.
But now we're here at the 1-7. I think you can make a case for a lot of different players. If you're in a tight end premium format, Kincaid might even go earlier than this. I think Kincaid makes a lot of sense. The first round pick for the Buffalo Bills, a team that is very, very pass heavy and really no clear. I know Shakir is fun to talk about. Maybe he grows into that role. Gabe Davis is Gabe Davis. Like Gabe Davis, there's not this untapped ceiling. Sorry, guys. But Dalton Kincaid is clearly stepping in my opinion, to be the long-term complementary piece. And eventually, because Stephon Diggs isn't like 23, he's getting into his 30s here soon. Eventually, Kincaid could be the number one weapon on this offense. We've heard that the Bills have been obsessed with him. They were worried that the Cowboys might take him. They want their version of Travis Kelce. Kincaid probably won't be as good as Kelce, clearly, one of the best ever. But I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid here. I think there's a couple different players that you could do, but I'll take Kincaid here at the 1-7.
Yeah, no, definitely makes sense. This is where I believe it gets really, really shaky, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go either way. I mean, I would even argue you can even go quarterback here personally. And I know just because of how bad this draft is, in my opinion, I think if you want to go extreme upside, you could go Anthony Richardson. But I'm still going to keep, with everything. I'm still going to keep it into it. Just wants to make sure people out there, I would personally say it's okay to go quarterback here. I know that sounds wild, but once again, the way this draft kind of fell, it's not ideal in the second round, right? In a one quarterback league. But I'm gonna go Zach Charbonnet. This doesn't feel sexy, but I think it does make sense here. I think he goes here, at the end of the first in the Superflex league, right? The 111, 110, and I think this makes sense right here at the 108. He does land probably one of the worst landing spots, but I think there is a potential where he gets a 50-50 workload, where he is the pass catching back in this backfield tier with Kenneth Walker. And once again, doesn't sound sexy, and it immediately caps his upside. But I think we still need to take account of the draft capital. Second pick. What am I trying to say? English is hard. Once again, it was picked in the second round of the draft by the Seattle Seahawks, and that is really high praise here for a running back going early second. So I think 108 feels really comfortable for me.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the pick I would make. I think there's two sides of the coin to look at here. The first one is, which I agree with, both of Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet, this is worst case scenario for them.
Yeah.
But there's probably not a better handcuff in the entire NFL now than Charbonnet. And we're assuming that Charbonnet won't win the job, but the reports out there are that they will battle it out at camp.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I've been so low on Ken Walker, because I don't think it's just automatically Ken's job like a lot of other people do. But Charbonnet is a good pick at the 1-8. Got the draft capital. He has the build. It's just, external circumstances that will definitely impact his ability to score fantasy points for you.
Yeah.
Here at the 1-9, this is where I would go Devin A-Chain. Devin is not someone that I've ever anticipated getting 15, 20 carries a game. That's not what I've anticipated, but I have been the one defending him on the channel, and that's because of the ways that he could be utilized in an offense with a creative mind. He lands in my favorite landing spot for him to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
And talking about a head coach who is already scheming up plays for him, there were reports that came out that this was Mike McDaniel's number one target in the entire draft. This was the guy he wanted on his team. Mm-hmm. And there's already press conferences of him discussing how he's going to utilize A-Chain and how excited he is. So it's speed in Miami, and they just got more speed. I mean, the identity of this team really is get the ball in your playmakers' hands in space and watch them move. And A-Chain can be one of those. It's like, the Splash Brothers in Golden State. Well, you got like the Speed Brothers here in Miami. So Devin A-Chain at the 1-9, I like it. I like the role he could be used in. And last thing I'll say is he's a very underrated pass catcher. I know people talk about it, but they don't talk about it enough. He's a better pass catcher than he's given credit for.
Yeah.
And I think that will be an important part of his role in the NFL.
No, makes sense. Makes sense. All right. I'm going to go with the wide receiver that we weren't really high on at the start of our process, and that's Jonathan Mingo going to the Carolina Panthers. He is the 5th wide receiver off the board in the NFL draft. He is the first offensive player that this regime goes out and drafts and picks for Bryce Young, and I think that speaks volume. Yes, the production profile is not up to par compared to all these other wide receivers in the NFL draft, but there's talent there, and there's a way to kind of upbring Jonathan Mingo. And I saw something on Twitter where there was a clip of the owner calling Jonathan Mingo the draft pick, and he says, "Hey, I called Steve Smith and I said, which wide receiver am I taking right here?" And he goes, "Take Mingo," and that's exactly what they did. They trusted Steve Smith, obviously, because he's probably one of the best wide receivers and had the history with the Carolina Panthers. And they also go out and get a guy for, once again, Bryce Young to grow with, right? So I'm happy to take the chance here at the 110 with Jonathan Mingo.
I'm still a little bit concerned. I think there's 2 running backs that should still go off the board before Mingo personally, but
that's fair.
I can definitely respect it. There's still a lot of concerns despite the draft capital, but I do think that, we can't overestimate our own evaluation when an NFL team decides that he's the 5th wide receiver off the board, early second round. That being said, I do think Kendre Miller is something I would draft ahead of him. I'll take him here at the 111. Kendre Miller got day 2 draft capital for a running back. Yes, Jamal Williams is there. We don't know what's happening with Alvin Kamara. There's legal issues. I mean, as someone who owned Alvin Kamara in some redraft leagues last year, I can tell you that organization, specifically the coaching staff and Alvin, were not on the same page. You could visibly see the frustration in games, and I'm not sure where Alvin will be to start this year. Maybe he is a Saint and he's just suspended for the first 6 games, or maybe they end up trading him. Like, who knows? But I mean, if they felt comfortable with Alvin, you probably don't add 2 running backs this offseason who could take the job from him. So also Alvin, one of his worst analytic years this year as well. So he is slowing down a little bit, but I'll take Kendre there. I do think there's a chance that he beats out Jamal Williams and carves out a nice role for himself there in New Orleans.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Take the upside, at least in my perspective. I'm happy to take the upside there with Mingo. And I said it earlier. I know I said about quarterbacks, we probably don't take quarterbacks in the first rounds, and I'm honestly happy to take one right here. Once again, we've kind of been preaching the whole time during the offseason in this one quarterback mock videos to take a quarterback in the mid-second round. You go upside, and I think that's exactly what I would do here because of how weak this wide receiver classroom is, I would say, in the draft capital, and same thing in the running back room. So I'm happy to take Anthony Richardson here at the 112 and see where that can go with the rushing upside. Because I know there's going to be at least 4 years there where Anthony Richardson is going to get maybe 4 is a bit of a stretch. I would say at least 3 years where Anthony Richardson will be the starting quarterback. He's going to try to develop there with Shane Steichen. So I'm really happy to take him at the 112.
Hey, Rich, QB1.
QB1
quarterback. We got there.
I mean, we got there.
What? Tell me.
I agree with you in a sense now where in the one quarterback there is I guess it's the class is so weak I'm going upside. That's what I would say. But I will say you could go safe where you can go Bryce Young. So Anthony Richardson's high upside. The safe route right now is Bryce Young. So maybe that's what I can clarify. Like, you can go either way here, Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson. But I'm taking Anthony Richardson here based off the upside and how much I want to try and get out with the rushing.
All right, here I would take a running back. I still think there is a running back in particular that I like and I want to take a shot on, and that is Rashawn Johnson. He goes to the to the Bears here. And, I think what happens, Badaki, is not everyone, but some people, we start to talk about a player and their potential in an offense. And it's assumed that we are then disrespecting other players on that team. It's like, can we not just have a conversation about this player? So Rashawn Johnson's one of those guys we've talked about before, and the conversation in the comments has been, so Herbert's irrelevant? Like, no, we've never used that word. No, Herbert is not irrelevant.
We actually never said
Herbert will have a role, but Rashawn Johnson is not an inferior talent to the running backs on that roster, okay? As good as Herbert has been, as good as Deonta Foreman was last year, they don't make this pick in the 4th round if they're just completely comfortable with those two running in their run game.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a lot for everyone to eat here, okay? Rashawn Johnson and Khalil Herbert and Deonta Foreman. Now, what a case could be made for is that Rashawn Johnson has an opportunity to be the running back one here. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But when you look at all the other landing spots outside of A-Chain and Miller, to me, Rashawn Johnson has the best opportunity to lead his backfield year one. Herbert's irrelevant. You said Herbert. No, I didn't. I said he has the best opportunity to lead the backfield, okay? In an offense that ran the ball the 3rd most times per game last year. And despite adding DJ Moore, I still think this is going to be featured around the run game for Justin Fields in this offense. So I'll take Rashawn Johnson at the 2-1.
Yeah, like the pick, and don't overreact. Listen, what is it? Don't hear what we're not saying. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Don't hear what we're not saying.
There's just too many assumptions when we're talking about what a player could be. It's the reality is not every rookie's going to hit. You have to talk about drafting them based off the possibilities. That doesn't mean if we have sleepers that the sleepers are going to hit. Yeah. It's talking about what could happen, So
Completely agree. All right, at the 102, I'll go with my tight end. The tight end that is available on the board right now, and that's Michael Mayer going to the Las Vegas Raiders. He did fall into the early second round. And what's interesting is the whole language around Michael Mayer is like, oh, he can go in the 1st or the 2nd, and everyone's like, oh, he went to the 2nd round. And it feels like it's a bad narrative for Michael Mayer now, which I feel like maybe we're overreacting as well with Michael Mayer. But I think he lands in one of the best landing spots here, and with a really good quarterback that has a history of targeting tight ends, and that's being his favorite target, right? I know he has Devontae Adams there, but I'm not scared of Jacoby Myers and Hunter Renfrow that they brought in. He steps into a role without a doubt, taking over Darren Waller, and obviously Foster Moreau is no longer there because of his sickness. But Michael Mayer here, I think in this the 202 is a steal with a really, really great, talented tight end stepping in, knowing how to block and being a threat with his arms or his hands, right in the middle of the field. I think that's perfect. So I'll take Michael Mayer.
Yeah, I do think it's slightly disappointing that he didn't go in the 1st, but I think the landing spot is great, and he still should be picked here. Like this, He shouldn't go lower than this. Yeah. I 100% agree, but I would say you and I both should agree that it is slightly disappointing he didn't get 1st-round draft capital. But he's still a fantastic pick here, and he fits the offense, and Jimmy G has a vast history of making tight ends relevant, and he's probably starting day one.
Exactly.
So I like it. All right. Here at the 2-3, I think this is where my run of wide receivers would have started. So I would have considered like Mingo here at the 2-2-2-3.
Okay.
And the next one, I mean, really, it's dart throw city from here on out. But I'll go ahead and take a little Rashee Rice here. Not a prospect that I was all in on by any means, but if he gets drafted in the 2nd round to the Chiefs, I don't feel like I'm giving him any sort of Chiefs bump here. The Chiefs bump would have been what we saw last year when people had Sky Moore in, the top 4 or 5, 6 of one quarterback drafts. I think this is respectable given the offense that he's joining and, the opportunities that he could see. Okay. Mm-hmm. There is no solidified wide receiver one on this team. I think it's Tony if he's healthy, but we don't know if Tony's going to be healthy. So I'll take Rice here. Gets a 2nd-round draft capital. It's who Patrick Mahomes wanted. I'll take him here at the 2-3 because, I don't think there's a case that he's not the best dart throw at this point. And, there could be better players on the board, but I think he's the best dart throw.
Yeah, no, definitely. I could definitely see it. And a guy that I haven't showed too much love here at the 204. I mean, I have, but I actually haven't been like targeting him in any drafts, which is weird. I guess he just hasn't been falling to me. And that's Marvin Mims. I think he's a better dart throw than some of the other wide receivers in this class. Just because of, once again, the landing spot, kind of like Rashee Rice, right? He lands with a really good quarterback. There's opportunity there. And same thing with Marvin Mims. He lands with a good quarterback in Russell Wilson, who has produced fantasy relevant wide receivers, gets day two capital. They trade up for Marvin Mims, and there's a clear row for him in the slot there. Sean Payton is here with the new regime, and I think that's really exciting. The first offensive player that Sean Payton drafts here, and that is Marvin Mims. So that speaks volumes, in my opinion. Going here at the 204, I think this is perfect.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I like it. I'm gonna go Jaden Reed next. You know, there's been a little bit too much on both sides with Jaden Reed, to be honest. Like some people are comparing him to Stephon Diggs, and I get it.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of understand. Logistically. Other people are just completely ignoring that he got drafted in the second round. There's got to be some sort of middle ground here, and I think here at the 2.5 and a 1 quarterback would be my middle ground. You know, joins a team where Romeo Doubs is still there, and he's going to compete for the wide receiver 2 job with Doubs, but he does offer something that Doubs doesn't necessarily have in that speed. Doubs is much more of a physical X wide receiver, and Jaden is much more of a slot or pretty good route runner, good speed, put the ball in his hands after the catch. That's what Jaden brings, which I don't think that Doubs brings, but I think they complement each other really well. So I'll take Jaden Reed there at the 2.5. Again, looking at opportunities and draft capital, I think Jaden Reed's a pick here for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you. And this is kind of, once again, this is where it gets shaky. Where do you go here? That's kind of like the run of wide receivers. I think there are a couple out there. But I guess I'm going with, once again, draft capital, opportunity, and yeah, opportunity. I would say I can see me taking Sam Laporta here. I will take Sam Laporta here at the 2.6, going to the Detroit Lions, stepping into a really good role. And you got to remember that the first 6 weeks, Jameson Williams is not there. I know Jahmyr Gibbs is there. He leads into this offense, stepping in day one as tight end 1. And let me remind you, T.J. Hawkinson was a top 5 tight end before his injury, before he got traded, and before his injury in 2021 with Jared Goff. So he's stepping into a lot of targets here. And I'm really excited for Sam Laporta here at the 2.6. Once again, you have to either go with draft capital or talent evaluation, or you go with your guy. I guess that if that makes any sense.
Okay, so I'm here and I'm gonna go probably a little Tank Bigsby at the 2.7. I think it gets a little more shaky after Tank, unless there's someone that I'm missing. But that's who I'll take here, and let's see what you do. Tank Bigsby, Tank Bigsby goes to Jacksonville. I think he's going to complement Travis Etienne. I can't believe I even have to say this, but on Twitter, people are telling you that Tank Bigsby is a better prospect than Travis Etienne.
Be careful.
I don't know what to say to that with all seriousness. I'm not sure how to even start that conversation, but that's not true. However, what I will say is Tank Bigsby is a very good complement to Travis Etienne. A little lightning and thunder action, but Tank Bigsby probably gets 40% of the opportunities there in Jacksonville. So he's definitely worth a pick here at 2.7 in an offense that is continually getting better.
Yeah, definitely a goal line threat I see for Tank Bigsby, the bigger back coming in, pushing the line potentially. So let's see what happens with Tank and Travis Etienne. I will go with a guy that I really loved coming out of the draft. He didn't get the draft capital, and that's Josh Downs. He goes to Indianapolis Colts. I'll go here at the 2.8 with Josh Downs. And I know a lot of people are worried about Anthony Richardson, but every single time they say they're worried about Anthony Richardson, they were also worried about Jalen Hurts. And who was Jalen Hurts with is now the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and Shane Steichen. It doesn't happen immediately, but hopefully if that same transition can happen for Jalen Hurts, it can happen for Anthony Richardson. At least that's what we're hoping for, right? And I'm still going with Anthony Richardson as a talent, and I'm going with Josh Downs as a talent here. And getting him at the 2.08, I think it's a steal. Unfortunate that he fell to day 3. of the NFL draft, or actually, excuse me, day 2 of the NFL draft. But round 3, I would say, of the NFL draft. But he's still there at the 2-8.
Yeah. I'll take Bryce Young here. There's not a player after Tank that I really desperately want, so I guess that's when I'll pivot towards these quarterbacks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I was happy to take Josh Downs, kind of talk about him. I'll go CJ Stroud here, going with the Houston Texans with the 2nd pick overall. And I think there's no really to explain there. Go with the quarterbacks if you need one.
Yeah. All right, here at the 211, the last pick I would make would probably be a little Chase Brown. We released a video on our channel called Sleepers, Rookie Sleepers. Go check that out, and I go into detail on Chase Brown, but essentially he's filling that Samaje Perine role at minimum. Yeah. We assume Joe Mixon is going to renegotiate his contract and be back, but Joe Mixon was pretty inefficient last year, and he didn't really see much third down work. That was Samaje Perine. And the 3 weeks that Samaje Perine was a starter when Joe Mixon was injured, he was the RB2 in points per game in those 3 weeks. So I'll take Chase Brown here at the 211.
Chase Brown, downtown. All right, well, just under 4 minutes to go here with time for us. A guy that I am avoiding, but I do want to talk about him. That's Tajay Spears. If you're in the one quarterback gang and you haven't heard about Tajay Spears, he has no ACL. He has cartilage in his knee. And they are questioning if he's going to even play out his
He has no
contract.
cartilage in his knee.
He has no cartilage in his knee. And they're wondering if he is going to live out for his rookie contract as a whole. Now, he does get day 2, if I'm not mistaken, draft capital. And he goes to the Tennessee Titans, backing up Derrick Henry as maybe a spell back, a pass catching back, a change of pace back. But this is something that I completely want to avoid. By the way, he also has arthritis. I didn't say that. He has arthritis in his knee, which is terrible, a.k.a. Todd Gurley. What does that look like, right, for Tajay Spears? Obviously, 2 completely different cases. A guy that I'm completely avoiding in all my drafts. And if he does fall to a certain point, absolutely take a shot on him if he's probably one of the best values there, but one of the best draft capitals. But for me, it's a complete avoid. Just wanted to bring him up here at the 212 for you guys. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want Tajay Spears whatsoever.
Okay, so you're not drafting him, or you are?
I am drafting him to have the conversation for the people that don't know about Tajay Spears.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that is the first 2 rounds for your one quarterback mock drafts, guys. Players who were well worthy of being picked but didn't for whatever reason. I would say Luke Musgrave is worthy of a pick. Tank Dell, Michael Wilson, Jalen Hyatt. You could say Zach Evans, I guess, depending on how you view him. But that is it for today. Do us a massive favor. Drop a like to show some love. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content, and we will see you guys in the next video. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.